Good morning, Bill. You hear me?
I can. Hold on one second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
How about now?
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Uh-huh.
You're frozen. Okay, now you're good. Man, sorry, Bill. I was in another tab. Didn't see the countdown.
It doesn't bode well for your 12-week plan.
It does not bode well for my 12-week plan. Oh my gosh. Missed the countdown completely. How are you, Bill?
Good. I'm doing good.
You're wearing a power shirt today, man.
I am bringing the rock.
Good for you. I got. Because it's Hamilton Day on Disney Plus, and we will be watching that probably 17 times over this weekend. And because I have a lot to do today, we'll talk about that in a second. This is, my Hamilton power shirt. So,
same. This is my Monday morning red tie, my Sunday afternoon Tiger Woods red shirt. This is my. The rock is coming at you full force.
Love it. Blood, sweat, and respect.
Correct. Blood, sweat, respect. 2-minute prophecy. Go out and take it.
Absolutely, man. How was yesterday for you?
Good
morning, Gabe. Yeah. Are you done? So you're done for?
No, I'm not done. But I'm done with most of my commitments for the week. So it could be a very lazy Friday if I wanted it to be, but there's a lot of stuff I want to get done. So it'll be a full work day for me.
What's your big three then?
Get that sip of coffee down. That was number one.
First things first.
First things
a little bit of juice.
First coffee. My big three today is I have a quirk planning thing that I'm working on today that I want to get that finished. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that isn't required, but I want to just knock it out. The second thing I want to do is get my newsletter out because I'm 2 for 3 right now. So if I get any further down, I'm failing. So I need to make it a 3 for 4 today.
Okay.
But that shouldn't take long. And then the third thing, what's the third thing? It's the big one. It's whatever the big one is. The problem is I have too many whiteboards going at the moment. And my main whiteboard, that's something that you should never do. I have one main whiteboard that has like my daily stuff for it. Clearly, I have my planner that I use all the time, but I typically keep a whiteboard up, so that way I don't have to keep opening and closing and sitting there right in the face. And I used it last night for some planning, and I didn't convert it back to what it's supposed to be. You know what that means, right?
Unprepared.
I need to go buy another whiteboard. Whiteboard.
I don't have enough. This one's full. Erase it. No, you don't understand how this works.
No. You clearly are not from the whiteboard world. I'm okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's gone. We'll get it back up. It's fine. It's just sitting right there. I just can't get to it. What about you? What's your big three today?
85 asks.
Yeah.
I decided to do my first session of like office hours yesterday just to like start building the habit. So I did a block from 2 to 4 yesterday in my Facebook group of just talking about whatever people were working on. And, it was good. We had 6 people in there. So, I'll take that as a win. Yeah. And, I'm supposed to ask you, I've got a note right here and on my whiteboard. How was the soup? My daughter wants to know.
I haven't eaten it yet, and I was going to send her a photo or video. So
okay. Yeah. So when Jake was over the other day, my daughter had made broccoli cheese soup the night before, which wasn't very good, guys. Like, don't tell her, but it wasn't great. I'm happy that she cooked it, and I'm happy that she's enjoying cooking, but it was just kind of gruel is kind of what it tastes like. So, but then Jake came over and was nice enough to take some home, and she has been on me, about like, hey, Hey, did Jake like the soup? So,
yeah. So my third big three today will be to respond in kind. Yes.
Oh man, that's funny. So yeah, so did 2 hours of office hours and just kind of talked on various topics, and I think it was helpful. And so today I've got to get 85 asks. I've got to send out some assessments for this hiring round that we're doing for one of my clients to find their salesperson, and I need to write my Sherpa. So I'm going to be hauling, but the goal is to be done. Well, actually, 1 second, because I have a call today at some point. I think. LOL. What's up, Gabe? What's up, Gabe? Exactly what? This is what happens, right? Like you get caught up, and on some level, I have some avoidance, right? So
because I busted my freaking tail last Sunday and Monday does not mean you have to like match me.
No. No, it's not purposeful, but like this is a pretty good example of like how things don't go according to the plan that we want, right? Because like I was fired up to have this done on Monday and Tuesday.
And you got that.
Tuesday got a little bit off, and then Wednesday was we did mostly planning, and then honestly after planning I was so wiped mentally I wasn't good for any work at all, and then Thursday in the morning. Should have gotten probably 30 to 60 done, but I got sidetracked into other stuff and things like that. So immediately after this at 8:45, it's going to be let's go time, right? So,
all right. Do I need to check in with you at some certain time?
Yeah, that would be awesome because I've got a call with Patrick again today. We're talking some more about his stuff, I think, and so. Yeah, man. If you could nudge me at like 11 to see where I'm at, that would be huge because I have every intention, but just intentions
are
just that. They are intentions, right? And one of my favorite sayings is we judge everybody else by their actions and ourselves by our intentions. So my actions today will be to get this done because I'm not paying anybody $500. Just not going to happen. Doesn't matter if it was a cause that I like or a cause that I don't like. $500 would hurt to give up. So I am not going to. I'm going to get it done, and I would love to have it done by 3.
What time is your call with Patrick?
12:30. Is
that worth rescheduling or pushing to the afternoon? That way, that's a right middle of the day thing, and just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's a fair thought. I might.
There's nothing writing on that, you know what I mean?
What's that?
There's nothing writing on that call. There's 500 writing on those asks.
That's fair. That's really fair. Okay, cool. I'm going to push the call with Patrick. Sorry, Patrick. I don't think you're watching this, but if you are, apologies, sir. I got to get this done. I'm not paying. I'm not paying $500.
Because I can see the avoidance.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Because I'm same thing. Like if I get on a good call and it's 45-minute call, an hour and a half's not out of the question. Which is
man. Okay, guys, like this right here. Hold on, I'm pointing to Jake on my screen, but it's mirrored, so it's pointing away. So this guy right here, this is accountability right here. Like this idea, because I would have taken this call and it probably would go on longer than I have it on the calendar for, and that like this is accountability. Like. I know that this is a potential blind spot, but it's super easy for me to explain it away. Jake also knows that it's a blind spot for me because he knows how much I like to talk. So he's helping me out right now. Like this is the level of accountability you should be looking for in the people that you're surrounding yourself with, because man, that right there, that's a good bill right there.
Yeah, dude. And of course, and I would just, I read the 12-week year yesterday as we were preparing for this, right? And one of the quotes that you told me that you like that I love it too is accountability is not consequence, it's ownership.
Yeah.
It's the point is it's the realization that you always have a choice.
Yeah.
I had heard the first part before that it's not consequence, it's ownership. I had never heard that it's actually this freedom that goes, you know what? I actually have a choice every single time. If I choose to think that way, then accountability is nothing but just effectiveness.
And
I can finish.
that for me triggers so many other things, right? Like just because you have a sales conversation with someone doesn't mean you need to pitch them. So
Right.
it's a choice to pitch them. So if
Mhm.
you're pitching them and you're leaving gaps because you're willfully like not addressing the big seven, in your wild cards, then what happens is you are willfully putting yourself into a position to where you have to chase. You still have a choice. You don't have to pitch to that person. Something to talk about is like we don't propose to every attractive person we see on the street,
Sure.
right? Like you don't spend your life with somebody, and if you're a service based company, especially on the small side, like this is like marriage, right? They're gonna you're gonna have ongoing relationships and stuff like this. So you need to make sure there's a fit about how you deliver and how they want it delivered, right? And this is one of the biggest mismatches I see in all these service based companies that I work with, is that they're not doing enough vetting around like, hey, what does success need to look like? Well, it needs to look like this and this and this, right? If you can't hit those milestones, you need to tell them, hey, I'm not sure I'm the right one to help you. Because when you jump past that and you're like, oh, it'll be fine. Once you see what we can do, you're going to love us. And here's a proposal. And here's 3 of them at different price points. And let me anchor you on the high price because I don't even really want you to take this one. Here's the middle one. And how about now, Mr. Prospect? And it's just, oh God, I hate every bit of it because it is so inefficient. God, it's like the worst inefficient like selling system ever. Pitch early and pitch often, and always be closing and all these things. No. Consistency is key. Get into the paint on a regular basis. Get as close to the goal as you can, and then shoot. Shoot. Yeah, lay it up. Right. You can't lay it up from half court, guys. You just can't. So if you're not talking about how they make decisions, what's important to them, what kind of investment they're thinking about to fix these problems, you are just blatantly taking any kind of net out from under you. Oh God.
Yeah.
Woosah. Because that's everything, right? How can you be more consistent and intentional? Because there's always a choice, right? You choose to schedule your calls when you choose to do them, right? Essentialism by, I think it's Greg McEwen, is the first book I read that really made me think about time in this rather way, because everyone talks about how important time is and everyone rolls their eyes and they say, oh yeah. And then you hit a critical mass and you're like, oh damn, time is really important. I need to make sure that I'm saving that stuff. And I think that everybody hits that plane at a different point. But for me, that book did it, right? When you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else that could be in that time, because you can't do 2 things at once. So
that was actually the biggest realization for me when I started time blocking, was not that I had to do this thing at this time. It was that, oh damn, I've got too much in my day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do too many things. And there's just something about putting everything on paper every single day that you go, that won't fit. And then you actually have to make a choice to shoehorn it in anyway, or go, I got to push that off. It's not in my 12-week goal attainment plan. And that was a life changer for me, because that actually was what actually started me down the serious path of really considering telling people no that I wanted to work with, or that had a good idea, or something that I felt like I wanted to be around. I was like, sorry, this is just not a good fit for me right now. So no for now became my looking forwards, right? It was no for now, or not today, not this week.
Some of the more affirmational stuff that I write in my journal every day is that say no to anything that isn't like a hell yes, right? If I'm not really excited about it, why would I say yes to it? I mean, there's no real reason, right? So I've been writing that in my journal, because it's super easy to be like, oh, this is gonna be fine, and once you see it, but it's not, guys. Like, no, there's so much that can go wrong. And everybody forgets everything anyway, right? Like this is the thing. With enough time, they're going to forget the details about what your offer is or what you're doing for them and stuff like this. So if you're not killing it for them, it's always an uphill battle. It's always an uphill battle. And if you put yourself in that spot because you sold them to get them to like do this thing with you, you deserve every bit of uncomfortable conversation you're going to do, because you're not being a good steward of the trust that they're giving you, right? If someone's talking about keywords and SEO and content and everything else like this, and you flip them into like an ads package because you know that you can get the same results, be prepared every month that you don't hit their milestone, right? And hopefully you know what those are. because every month you're going to have uncomfortable conversations about, hey, I thought we were doing keywords and SEO. Well, ads are better, and let me tell you why. And you're going to do it every month. Like, just say no to that client. Hey, sounds like you really want like SEO and content marketing. That's not really what we do. Would you like me to help you point or get pointed in the right direction?
Yeah.
How much easier is that? Like, so much easier.
So I was talking to somebody, they were asking me yesterday about how I price, right? And I said, well, I don't really do monthly retainers. That's something that I left quite a while back. I'll do hourly work from time to time, but even then I'm charging a pretty high hourly rate because I don't want to do hourly work. But what I love doing is 90-day sprints with people, which is 12 weeks, right? There's this magic, but at the end of 90 days, we're on the same page. We're going, this is what we're shooting for together. You the client, me, the partner. And at the end of 90 days, this is our goal. And it really doesn't matter as much how we get there as if we agree in principle on the beginning of this engagement, we're going to be here at the end of 90 days. So we're going to reassess, and along the way, we're going to check in and measure and do all these things. And I've had so many less of those conversations since I took that model up, really almost 4 years ago. I took it into agency because people didn't care as much about how you did it. Like when we started, we framed it and had expectations. The same thing, said, okay, really, at the end of the day, we really don't care about how we get there. It's, I want X amount of revenue, X amount of new clients, X amount of retainment. Okay, well, we can get you there, but we think this way is a little bit better way to do it, And they're like, oh, okay, well, as long as we're going in the same spot, it's like it takes down some of that, friction.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is super important, right? Because, if you just think, right, okay, so let's take this classic example that everybody talks about, right? Somebody gets onto Facebook and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a good digital marketer, right? And then you see everyone tag their buddy, who's a digital marketer. And then you see these digital marketers, they hop on the comments like, yeah, I'm going to kill it for you. You don't even know what they're looking for. You don't even know why they're unhappy with the last guy that they're leaving from. You don't even know if they're the kind of client you want to work for. Why are you making promises that you have no idea if you could even cash?
I just watched The Good Place, by the way, where Michael was like, so here's what I typically do in those situations. I haven't told you what's going on. Well, tell me what's going on, and I'll tell you what I typically do in those situations.
Yeah.
It's that. It's that right there.
Guys, it is trust is it. If you just show up and you make a bunch of assumptions about somebody else's business, good morning, Mike. If you were just showing up and being like, you know what? Hold on. I got what you need. I got it in my pocket right here. Just shut up and let me show it to you. Right. There's no opportunity for you to build trust. You look like an idiot. You look like you are lumping this person's business that you're talking to, their blood, sweat, and tears, into this easily digestible box that is way too small, and no one likes it. If someone came up and said, "Oh, I know all the answers to your business," and you don't even have to talk for 5 minutes, you would hate it as well. Don't do it to other people. Ask them questions. Make it about them. Understand with absolute clarity what they're looking for, why they're looking for, how big of a problem is it, and how much can they invest to fix it. If you're pitching before you know those things, this sounds like terrible, but you deserve a terrible close rate. You just do, because you're not working this from the advocate level. Sorry. Yeah, you're basic. Oh man, The Good Place is so good, so good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm behind. I'm doing all the references now, so
it's man, it's so good. Adam Scott, have you seen Adam Scott yet?
Yeah.
Oh God,
I'm in season 3 now, so.
Dude, you are sprinting through this thing. This is awesome.
Dude. Yeah, I love it. I can't. Well, they're 22 minutes. If you want to talk about crack, 22 minutes is the best length for binging, because you can literally put away a family-sized bag of peanut M&Ms in an hour, because you were sprinting through everything around you, going so fast, because these episodes are just flying past you.
God, they're so good too.
They're good.
So season 4 isn't out yet, but a friend of ours hooked us up with it on Plex. So the last season is good. It is emotional. It is because I love all these shows, right? Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec, The Office, and everything. And we've seen The Office probably more than any other show, except for maybe Parks and Rec is now coming up close, and so is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because they're just our standard background things. Yeah. And so like when you think about how The Office, and then like you think about how like the first season of Parks and Rec is just terrible because it's trying so hard to be The Office, and then they finally find their groove.
Right.
And then Brooklyn Nine-Nine starts pretty strong. Like the first season of that show was solid, and the first 3 episodes of The Good Place is arguably some of the best TV I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's so good. And like it just shows how with consistency and continuous effort and refinement, he gets better and better. Michael Schur, I mean, really, really solid. I would love to interview that dude.
Yeah.
Do you know he's Mose in The Office?
What?
Yes.
That's
The guy who's created all of these shows or been the showrunner or whatever is Michael Schur, who plays Mose in The Office.
I had no idea.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always loved those. I just didn't know why. I don't know why.
When he
part of my brain, I wish I could be sometimes.
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so 12-week plan.
12-week year. Yeah. So the thing that I love about the 12-week plan is something that you were talking about when it comes to like your time blocking, right? It talks about you need to like really own your calendar and schedule your time. And we talk about this, but I think that this book does arguably one of the better jobs I've seen about making people stick to it, right? Because it talks about these different kinds of blocks, right? Your blocking or your buffer blocks, or I think is what they call them, but I think of them as blocking and tackling blocks, right? So beginning of the day, end of the day.
Yeah.
And then you've got your work block, right? Your stretches of time where you're just doing the work necessary to get the week checked off. And then you got your breakout blocks, which is where you like reconnect with your vision and stuff like this, and really do your game planning, your assessing, and all of these things. And my C-ness, right, as the guy who likes facts and figures and logic and everything, I'm like, ooh, these are just like now modular puzzle pieces that I can fit into my week, once I figure out how long they take. So then after that, your weeks can get really, really, really boring, which is awesome. Like I love a nice boring week where nothing gets like out of way or like out of place, because that means that I can do it forever and I can let somebody else do it whenever I'm not ready to do it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The challenge is it's never that easy. It's always messy. So the point is when you have boundaries like that it keeps the mess inside the box mostly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I love how he says you can't get rid of low priority work. You can always schedule it so it doesn't get in the way of your high output or high payoff work.
Mm-hmm.
So which is so true, because I think a lot of us try and just like not do the things we don't want to do or push them off. Tends to be my tactic for the end of the week when I want to be off, and then I'm stuck with all this crap work on Friday, which is why Thursdays are always so intense.
Thursdays are intense.
So it's like there's only 12-week years and there's only Thursdays. That's we live in a Thursday of a 12-week year.
God, if I had 5 Thursdays in a row, like just like Monday was Thursday, like
yep,
we're going to end up building a productivity system that is just like anxiety, like is the one it's going to be.
Bro, we go Pikachu. We'd be like glowing all the time.
Yeah. or crying in the shower with all your clothes on because it feels like too much work.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
I mean, depends on the Thursday, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Depends on the Thursday.
Okay. So how do we want to do this? Do we want to like just give a quick breakdown of what our next 12 weeks looks like and why we're doing it that way, or?
Yeah. I think that's fair. You want to start?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So my outcome that I'm hoping for is to, at the end of this 12 weeks, will be, let's see, it's July, August, September. So the end of September, October 1st, I will have 100 people in my my group, my accountability group. And the reason that works is because those numbers is if I keep 100 people in that, then the math works backwards, so that I'm putting people into my 2 offers based on what we're doing. So I've got the group is my first piece, my accountability group. Then the second piece is my course, Content Camp.
Okay.
And the goal is to have 10 people go through that.
Over the next 12 weeks?
Over the next 12 weeks, because what I want to be able to do is then replicate that, where I'm doing 10 a month.
Okay.
If I can get 10 over the next 90 days and get all that dialed in, then I feel like I can start putting that on repeat.
Okay.
And then the goal is to have 5 engagements, like high ticket engagement, my consulting engagement, from there over the next 9 days.
Okay, so this is where I get paid right here.
Yep.
If you're going to get 100 people into that group, how many people do you need to be asking to feel like you've got a realistic shot of actually making the 100? Because it's not going to be 100, man, because no one has 100% take rate, even on a free offer.
Totally. Yep. And so I think when you and I talked about it, we figured they're going to be really targeted asks. They're going to be people that I would consider good fits.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be personal. They're not going to be paced ask. So we figured 3 or 4 to 1, right? When it was between 25 and 30%.
Yeah, we talked about 40 asks, which was going to be 2 per day. So,
right.
So 2 per day over 90 days, but like minus the weekends.
Yeah.
You know, so 22 working days in a month. So that's what, 66 times 2 is 120 asks. So, do you think you're going to have that high of a take rate? Or is this like baseline establishing?
Yeah, baseline establishing. And if I'm doing 120 a month, that gets me almost 600 by the end of the quarter. Right? No, almost 500.
If you're working on Saturdays and Sundays, yeah.
No, because if it's 120, that's 5 days, right? If I'm trying to get 40 asks a week times 4 weeks, it's actually 160 asks.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I do that by 3.
Oh yeah, I divided by the number of 90 and not by 12 and then by 5. So yeah,
right. But same idea. The idea is I get between 500 and 600 asks, which gets me a 5 to 1 close rate, which gets me closer to 20%, which is really conservative. I think that's a really targeted ask on a really low friction offer. So yeah, that's the goal. Because if I get 500 asks by the end of my 90 days, then I have 100 people in my group by the end of 90 days. Wow.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Yeah, that's just 2 a day. And actually what we talked about, and this is what we were just talking about, right, about time blocking and workflow. I don't really want to do 2 a day. I'd rather do it like twice a week. So that's 7 asks a day, twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really doable. I can get 7 apps done, in an hour. I can block that out because I am creating building a template, but I'm going to create a starting template that has all the pieces I need in it, and then go back and customize and personalize the pieces for them based on my relationship or interaction. Okay. That's how I can shortcut that and make 7 quality asks in an hour, or make the asks in 10, 12 minutes. Right? It's the back and forth that you're hoping for.
Well, in the making it targeted, right? So that way it's relevant. There's a little bit of like scrubbing and maybe a little bit of research there and stuff like that. Because, the thing we were talking about very specifically is how do you create the list, that you go off of? Jake is really into helping cause-driven organizations, right? And then we were doing a little bit of research and pulling back the curtain a little bit. We were talking about this like Schedule B, which is a special type of corporation because you've got some sort of give back clause, right? And now this is like a new corporation segment. And Jake really wants to work with brands and people that are working either at that level or to that level. Well, we were having this conversation whenever we were doing the planning. And then I saw this thing later on. There's now like a third party organization, and what they do is they verify that you meet a certain level of criteria, so that way you can have that B Corp symbol on your website. And so if you want to see what it looks like, go check out Avocado Mattresses, because it's down there at the very bottom of it, but it's got this little B thing, and it means that they're meeting a certain standard as far as like give back and things like that to actually qualify for it. So now we're trying to figure out how to get a list of that over to Jake, so that way he's got a very targeted list of people to reach out to.
That's right. Exactly. That's a huge data breakthrough. Of course, John Hill would come up with a data breakthrough. Yeah, I was having a hard time, especially like as I'm networking. So I'm a huge networker, right? I co-lead a Christian networking group. I'm out in person speaking in other people's networking groups, things like that. And one of the major things I try to do is create relationships, 1 or 2 solid relationships. So I'm at each of these events. And I ask, well, how can I help you? Who can I connect you with? And I go, well, I'm looking for cause-driven organization. They're like, oh, okay, nonprofit. I'm like, no, I like nonprofits, but I like I like brands. I just want people who care about people, right? Doing something for people. And so that Schedule B, while that may not be language that, common standard you hear around the water cooler type stuff, it is very much something that allows for hunting, right? I can go find something now. And then what's awesome is as I'm getting into this Schedule B stuff, I'm going to find other language and probably certifications and things like that as a big, that allow me to do audiences on Facebook, for example. It's just a very simple way to talk about it. That was good.
Yeah, that was huge. And what was crazy, it was almost serendipitous, right? Because Jake and I were kind of talking about this like during the planning session, and then that night I saw an avocado mattress commercial, and it talked about we are B certified, and I was like, oh, wait a second. Hopped on my phone, went to the website, saw it on there, and then immediately messaged Bill. Was like, hey, this is a thing, and he was like, ooh. So,
yeah. Yes, it was.
Always looking.
Always.
Okay, so
we got the people of the group. So the next piece of that is if we have 100 people in the group, I'm going to do 100 asks. Clearly, everyone who's there is going to get an ask for content. Mm-hmm. The idea is 10 of those are sold, so 10% take rate on that. Once again, I'm doing a bit of a hybrid, right? So my group is 30 days of trust building. Like I'm building relationships for 30 days voluntarily with people. And hopefully I'm helping them solve a business issue. And the examples I'll use the whole time are around messaging and how I'm using my content and using myself as an example. So I'm basically for 30 days pre-seeding this ask, right? I'm seeding this. So hopefully that's my thought is I can close 10% of those pretty easily. And that'll get me to that goal.
But this is important, right? I mean, we're still figuring out the baseline of this thing, right? So
yes,
what might happen, right? And this is important, guys. Like in 12 weeks, whenever we do our next planning session, we might realize that to get to the 10, to get to the 5, we need to put more people in this group. It might be 150 people, right, which we need to make 150 asks to get to the 10, to get to the 5. In the absence of data, you got to use your best judgment, right? And estimate low, so that way you're not building yourself up to something, but just start tracking. Like just start writing it down, start putting little ticks on a tally sheet. It doesn't matter what, but establish the baselines, because you can't improve until you know what the baseline is, because you're like that guy in the commercial, right, who's like flipping the sign, and he's like, hey, I think my muscles are bigger from all this like sign flipping, and his wife is like, it's been like 3 days, right? And he's like, no, I'm spinning faster. He feels like he's more muscular, right? So he's like making this huge deal about it, but he's not, because it hasn't been enough time. So in the absence of data, make best guesses, but be willing to adjust your plan based upon the results that you're getting. And this is where KPIs really come into play, because we now have this thought that 100 people in this group should get us to 10, which should get us to 5 projects. Now, the only way we can figure that out for sure is be really honest and track our numbers, track our crap, and make sure that this is actually happening, and then adjust. Like, you don't have to do any one thing for forever, right? And I think that people get burned out about sales because they're like, oh my God, I got to do this forever. It should be boring, right? I mean, it should just be something that you do. It shouldn't be something that you have to psych yourself up for or get any of these things. It should just be something you do. Hey, you're here. I've been helping you. How about now? Would you like to work on a bigger project, because I can do more? But these numbers might be off in 12 weeks, and Jake and I are both open to this idea. But these are numbers that we think make sense for him for right now. Yep,
and the thing is, we don't have to wait through 12 weeks to
exactly.
It's trending our way. Which is not what you were saying, but just in general, we should have touch points every 30 days for sure.
Yeah.
What's it look like? Because, at the end of the day, you got to fill the top of that funnel first. Mm-hmm. And that's the data that's going to come through first. We probably won't have the, 5 solds of the,
absolutely.
Until the end of the 12 weeks. That data won't really be there, which is fine, because that's the outcome that we're looking for.
Yeah.
It's not going
to the cool thing about KPIs is that when you set them up the right way, right, and there's multiple ones leading to other ones, especially like essentially the KPI is just like a funnel in Word format, right? We're going to put a lot of people up here, and then we should get into here, and then we should be getting to here. Right. So you can check yourself, right, and see if you're trending in the right direction. Whereas if you're just like, hey, look, I'm going to put a bunch of people in here, and business has got to come out the end. It's really easy to tell yourself that you can hope, or oh, it'll be fine, we'll get there, and all these things that everybody does. But you got to be consistent with your time in your actions.
Right.
Intentional, I think, is a better word there. Not consistent, but intentional.
Right. Those are different for sure. Yep. Agreed. Yep. That's it. I mean, that's my plan. Obviously I have strategy and tactics to make all that happen, but that's the overall 12-week plan, because at the end of that, what I have is solid data to move forward with. Mm-hmm. I have something like 20 grand in my pocket for just this one thing. This is my main ongoing, I want it to sustain me plan moving forward. And so just you want to scale and volume that. I still do other things. I still have other things to cash gaps for now. So
yeah,
they're all related. They're just not part of the plan,
Yeah. Did you come up with any kind of 12-week plans for BIL?
I didn't, because I did one for Quirk, because I'm trying to do similar parallel things with Quirk and get paid at large points. And so I actually did a similar one where we're, well, you know what? We should talk about that at some point, because we're reading their podcast to be more James Cadbury Sweetfish Media, where it's a business-based podcast where we're inviting clients on and then making the sales pitch afterwards and setting it all up and putting them in a lead generator. And then we're ramping them up to a pitch. So we're going to do a launch in October, because I'm getting certified for Business Made Simple University through Don Miller and the Story brand. I'll be a business coach over there as part of my income. And that's very similar to the 90-day sprint stuff I'm doing. And I'm actually using Quirk to fulfill a lot of that work. So that they are a partner of mine to help fulfill that 90-day sprint at the end. That's the 5 get to. They're actually executing on the websites and writing the emails and sending out Facebook messaging and stuff like that. I'm doing strategy and training and ongoing stuff. It's a nice fit, because I picked a partner to fulfill my strategy at the end, because that's not work I want to be doing anymore. And on the front end, I'm doing the stuff that I want to do, which is around accountability and the content and the training, and then getting them into this kind of big picture. Okay, now that you understand that the systems and accountability are super important, the way that you say things, will make a huge difference in the type of clients that you get. Okay, now let's go put this all the way across your business. Let's apply this. Let's rub this all over, not just the clients, right?
You got to get the dry rub into every crevice possible.
Yeah, I was thinking the pool, right? Because I got the kids out of the pool, where you get suntan lotion all over, otherwise you get these nasty tan lines. So, so I'm doing that in parallel. But we talked about it, but we haven't talked about this, because like you said, there's multiple ways to get stuff into the funnel, right? The idea is just to build a funnel here, right? Yeah. So we talked about it, that we like BIL to be one of those pieces at the top of the funnel that goes, hey, if you're interested in what we're doing, drop into the funnel.
For sure, yeah. I mean, we've talked with a lot of purpose about using this as like clippable stuff, right? So because when anybody talks as much as we do, you're bound to find some nuggets.
Yeah, that's right. A blind squirrel finds a nut.
Right, and the thing that I like is the fact that, like, you're helping me with marketing and I'm helping you with sales, right? And so we've got these two zones of genius. So it makes it easy for me to inadvertently drop like a sales nugget, and you can drop a marketing nugget and stuff like this, because we're talking about our strengths, right? But we're doing it to help somebody else, right? So eventually we'll have somebody who takes these little segments and they turn them into, or little clips and everything else like this. So
we'll turn them into like selling content.
Yeah. So I think that, I think that the KPI for BIL is that we just keep doing it, and that we find either somebody, or we start very purposefully looking for 3 to 4 clips a week that we can break out and section and reshare, right? I think we make it really, really small and really, really easy and approachable before we go for like a big number.
Consistency, consistency was definitely the first KPI for both of us. Let's make sure let's show up. Let's do it. And while we didn't put a number on it, I think we both were like every day, And I thought 30 days. Every day for 30 days, I'm going to show up, and that's KPI number one. Now we're into that zone where we've got some comfort around it. So it's like, okay, what's KPI number 2 for this thing? It's probably okay. Let's start getting some more people here and making an offer.
Do you think that the KPI number 2 is that, or do you think that we should just make okay, cool, like let's find 4 to 5 nuggets and create little, thought leader style things with like the quote over our photo that we then share and say, like do you think that that's a better KPI to try to get people here?
Well, let's think of a 12-week style, right? Because that's more of a daily thing. If we back into it, like ideally at the end of these 12 weeks, while this other stuff's going on, I'd love to be able to say that one of my leads came through BIL, which means that they found me or you, same thing, right? They found me, they got in my group, they took Content Camp, and now they're a client, right? That's just really a lead source. So I think the 12-week goal is to make sure we start getting people here that are potential clients. And the way you do that is start pulling some clips out and putting it in front of our people.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think that's the action. I think it's one of those, what's the vision, make sure we understand why we're putting the clips out. Otherwise we can put clips out that are funny that have nothing to do with the clients. Well,
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think the people want value, right? And then once they get some value, then they can find you funny and entertaining, right? So, anything that we clip out and, share for me would be very nugget driven as opposed to John's awesome driven.
Right. John clever clips.
Huh?
John clever clips.
That's what exactly. Yeah. I don't need any reinforcement on the clever thing. Not to say that I am, but it's a mindset that is unproductive for me.
Exactly. All right. So the idea is to get more targeted clients, potential clients, to watch our show.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's really the idea. And then drop into our funnel somehow.
Yep.
Okay. We can talk more about that because I want to make sure we're getting to your 12-week. So let's hit that.
So the way that I did my 12 weeks is because I've got various projects is I kind of created one big goal for each one of the projects that I'm working on, right? So for adaptive growth, thanks to my BIL Jake, we've got kind of a content plan about some stuff, right? So we talked about the pain points and how to write sellable content around those things, as opposed to what I normally do is just try to fix the problem. And Jake showed us a really cool way to kind of map that out. So Melissa and I are going to be working a lot on figuring out the downloadable thing that helps with these pain points, because I would really like to have some people on the mail list and not just have to do everything through Facebook, because man, I would love to get away from being so Facebook dependent. So the goal is to create 2 lead magnets that solve these pain points that we were talking about the other day in a way that we can get people onto the email list, because that's the jam. So that's for adapted growth, right? Okay. So adapted growth, 2 lead magnets.
Yeah. So the pro tip there is in your content, make sure that you're doing like a problem, product, result type problem. Here's the problem. Mm-hmm. Here's the way it can be solved, and it could look like this if you want. Are you interested? Click here, right? That's a selling piece of content, and it should lead to something that will solve the problem, which is that lead generator. Because at the end of the day, when you're in a service-based business, you can solve the problem for the person, and it's okay. Because the people that want to hire you will hire you more, not less. Yeah.
So 2 lead magnets that are very specific around the 2 biggest pain points, right? Which in my world are quality of leads and quantity of leads, because everybody wants more and they want them better, and it's, you can only do so much. We'll be talking about how to solve for those 2 things very specifically. So Goal is to have 2 like downloadable solid lead magnets in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's content, maybe it's, I don't know. We got to figure that out.
Do you have an outcome that you're looking for around the email list? Is there a certain number of people you'd like to have on the list
by the end of the year? I want to have 5,000 people on the Adaptive Growth email list.
Okay, and that's just a number you said, let's try that one, right?
Well, what I did was at the beginning of the year, I wanted 5,000 people on the Sherpa newsletter, right? We'll talk about that in a second. Adaptive Growth newsletter, and then the Sales Throwdown newsletter, right? Because $5,000 would be 15. So like it was like a nice round number, and it seemed like it was going to be easy to like work on all of them together. So the $5,000 number is still there. Like, I think it's really easily hittable. I think I need to kind of find some smarter ways of trying to get there. So,
the point here for anybody listening is there are a couple ways I think that filling email lists, you can work backwards like John's doing. You can go, I want to pick a number and we're going to work towards it. Or you can say, I know I can do X amount of work on email per day. And if it all goes well, it'll hit X number, right? Because if I know I can put a lead generator out and I can pay $10 a day for ads, and Facebook tells me I can reach 500 people a day, then you can actually work a number that way too and go, oh, that would hit me 37.50 if I got a 10% close rate, something like that. So you can work it both ways. The idea is if you know you only have an hour a day to work on your side hustle or something, or if you know you're an agency owner, and you only have an hour a day to do business development, and you go, I know I can do this, then sometimes that's actually an easier way to get to a number versus picking a number in verse. But they both work equally well because they both give you a plan to get to the place.
So my default is to always back into it and go from the back end of it, because what I'm going to tell you is that if you're working for somebody else, they probably don't care about your KPIs, right? They want the end result, right? And so when you can start with the end result and say, hey boss, I'm going to do this for you. Like, we're going to get this. Like, for most people, that's all they care about, right? They don't care about how you're going to back into it or the KPIs or the weekly things or anything else like this. So it's important to know this, but just be aware that not everybody cares, right? And so when you start with the end result in mind, right, of like, man, if I had 5,000 people on these 5 different email lists, that would feel like victory. Okay, cool. How do I make that happen?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say a lot of these marketers are just showing up and just being like, "Hey, man, I'm just sending you the leads. I can't help you. If you can't close them and stuff like this." And it's like, you're not really building any trust, right? You're just trying to protect yourself. So
that's a great segue. What I was about to say, actually, because another interesting thought project for you might be to go, is it worth adjusting that number based on how many people do I think I can get to hire me from my email list? How many people would need to be on that email list to get me to my target revenue rate, right? So like if you're trying to make 15K a month or 10K a month, whatever the number is, right? And you go, if I could close 50 people this year, how many people of those could be from an email list? Well, what's my close rate off of email? 5 to 10%. Okay. Well, then you can also project that way, because then you're actually creating an email list based on the revenue you want to make. Because it's the whole thing. Would you rather have 1,000 people on your list that absolutely love your stuff, or 5,000 people that are lukewarm, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just a thought. Because what you added, what you have is fine. I just want to kind of, shine a couple lights on it.
Well, the thing that's really important there is I picked 5,000 because it seemed like an attainable number that wasn't going to force me to just like try to cram everybody in there, right? Like because to Jake's point, right? It's really important that the list of people that you're marketing to is engaged, right? If they no longer have their hand up,
right,
you're not really marketing to them. So so the number of 5,000 seemed attainable, but it also seemed like it would be attainable in a format of like having like a tight list, as opposed to just like having a list for the sake of having one.
Yep. Like I said, numbers good. Just multiple thoughts. That's all.
So that's for adaptive growth, right? Is two lead magnets that hopefully grow the email list. And there's some other little things in there. For John Small Mountain, I'm going to build a course, I guess. Yeah. Well, because, I've kind of like shifted a little bit from just being the guy who helps like consultants and coaches and agencies get closers to I'm also kind of becoming the guy who helps closers find work as well, and kind of being that bridge, like they're in the middle. So why not throw together like a course that teaches people how to become a closer, right? And what I'd like to do is get my CPA, who's really good about like 1099 and sales roles and stuff like this, about like how to do your taxes the right way. So that way it's like a full course, not just like, here's how you sell, because while that's important, it's only like a small section. I mean, most of what makes selling difficult is our mindset. Excuse me. Whew, that came out of nowhere. Okay. I'm always done after 2, so we're good now. So what I want to do is I want to build like a course that talks about like journaling and your mindset and finding your first closing deal, and here's how you manage your taxes, and here's how you manage your other stuff, because it's cool that you're closing for someone, you get to work from home, but like here's all the perils about working from home, and here's about the perils of of all these things. So I think that I can build a solid course talking about that and get it to people who want to become closers, and yeah, we'll see. Okay. So for John Small Mountain is to get the course built. So first week is building the outline, and then doing all this other stuff. Okay. And then for Sales Throwdown, we're seeing some growth there, which is really, really nice. The episode counts are starting to rise. We're starting to get some traction. We brought on some people who are helping us with some SEO and some clippings and things like this. And so we're going to start sharing a lot more of that stuff. And, I don't really know what a good 12-week goal is for the podcast. What I'd like to do is
the end goal to sell disc assessments so that you get you all business? Is that kind of
so we have a couple of different monetization levels for the podcast, right? The first one being ads, right? So we're trying very hard to get up to a point to where we have ads, and people who want to pay us for, sponsorship of the thing. And we'll talk about you on the show, and we'll also talk about you on the weekly newsletter that goes out, because, we want to have 5,000 people on that list as well. So we have all that going on. So assessments, ads.
Okay.
Eventually we were thinking about like merch and stuff like this if it gets to that point, and then like live events, and then consulting, right? Because we really want like teams to reach out and say, I've got 7 people and they're struggling. Cool. Awesome. Let's come in and let's assess everybody. And then let's talk about where this communication stuff breaks down. And I've got a client I'm talking to about this right now, because their whole workforce has shifted from being in the office to everyone's working from home, and tempers are short, and conversations are short, and people are wired different ways, and you're not getting that water cooler time or that kind of like time, that face time to kind of just like work and work well together. So like everything feels like a fight. So I'm like, there's like the back office team, the support staff, and then there's like the front end producers. And so one of my clients was like, hey, let me let you talk to the boss. So I talked to the boss. I was like, hey, there's a lot of little stuff in communication here that gets slipped between the cracks. Would you like to do like an assessment? And the way that I was going to do it was assess everybody, talk with the back office team about like, hey, here's what's happening with these sales guys over here, and here's why you hate them, and all these things, and here's how to communicate better with them, and then go communicate with the front end sales team and being like, hey, look, here's what's happening in the back office, right? And here's why they don't like you, and here's why you don't like them, and here's how to make their lives easier. So we want to do more stuff like that with the podcast as well. So
that's 2 very, very different, I think, monetization goals. One is like to get paid to talk, which is, but that's kind of where you're at now, right? Like, so you're trying to make it so that you're growing subscription rate, and advertisers it's appealing to them. And then the other is, okay, now that we have established this authority so much so that even advertisers have seen the value, you need to hire us, right? So I think you should have either a goal to increase subscribers and engagement, or get a certain dollar value around advertising, because that catapults you into that next category, or you drop the subscription thing altogether, and which Corey, you're on a team, you're not going to just drop it. I'm just talking theoretically here, right? You drop that all together, and if the end goal is to go get clients in teams, make that your goal. Stop, push yourself around and this. That sort of thing. So I think otherwise what you do is you end up doing both, and we know that both is not focused on one, right?
I read this in a book really recently, but I love this. It's like a Russian proverb, and it talks about when you try to chase 2 rabbits, you catch none,
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I think for the rest of the group, the ads are the bigger uh, the bigger motivator, because of the four of us, I have the most time to go actually do the consulting with these teams and doing these things, and I freaking love doing it, which is why we have the show about it. But we need to be up a couple levels before I can get the others to have enough time so that way they can do some of the consulting as well. So I think that the main drive right now is ads and sponsorships.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, you
I don't really
talking with them about. I don't know if you guys have ad sheets or one pagers or whatever for the podcast to show how you can advertise with the show, or if you're with a studio that's doing that for you, or any of that stuff. I think that should be your goal. Is let's hire some.
I like that as a goal.
And let's get an offer to go to advertisers if you don't already have it. Because I was thinking about this yesterday. Right, I was on a jog and I was like, if I were to talk to one brand new person today and they asked me how they can get more money, like knowing my friends, not my target market, my friends, my entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business, is go create an offer. There's so many people out there selling that don't have a solid 100%. I know what you're trying to solve for me offer, and I think that's why most of my friends who've been doing this for years stumbled on for years, because they didn't have a really, really clear, pain-driven offer. And then the second part of that was, now that you have an offer, start tweaking your offer to make it better so that more people want it.
So let me ask you this, right? Because this is something I think about a lot, right? Because the average person can't really handle that much more leads or that many more leads. They just can't, right? Because they're selling badly, they're winging it, they're leaving it all open to all of these things. And so I used to approach it from the side of let's do your sales process and your blueprinting and your CRM setup and everything else like this, and build a process so that way you can handle more leads. But now I'm thinking I should almost just be a marketer first and overload people. And so that way when they're like, oh yeah, man, I'm not closing any of these things. Okay. Do you think that the lead quality is bad? Well, no. Okay. Would you like to talk about some ways of selling more effectively and saving time? So I'm almost thinking now that I need to backdoor it almost, right?
Or you need to partner with someone who can get them more leads so that you can concentrate on the stuff you love, which is helping them close more. Because you could either, in that situation, I think you could switch between two things. You could either make sure that you're targeting clients that have plenty of leads, they just suck at closing.
Yeah.
You don't need more leads. You just go help them close better, whatever that means for them.
But
or you could go, okay, you're not getting enough leads, they're trickling in, and you're not closing the ones that you are getting very well, so I can help you with that part. But what if I could also get you more leads, right? Because that's two different offers.
Well, it is, but what I find is that people are more willing to say, hey, I need better marketing, than to say, I need better sales, right? Because I think a lot of people are marketing using a team or doing some sort of thing, right? So if I can just be consistent in delivering leads, right? Then what happens is they're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, John, whenever we're doing our coach ups, how's it going? What are you converting? Well, not enough. Okay. How do you think we should fix that? Do you think it's lead quality? Maybe. Okay. How do you know? Well, I'm getting lots of no's. Okay. Well, whatever that is, right? And we can solve for it after that. But if I can deliver somebody 10 leads per month in some way, shape, or form, then I build that trust, because I'm not, I think it's about how big of a challenge it is, right? If I go up to someone who's in business and say, hey, are you selling well? Is anybody ever going to be like, no, I'm not. I mean, not until there's trust.
Well, I think that's the wrong frame though, because I think what you're asking them is, are you happy with your close rate? Do you feel like would you like to close more leads than you already are? Well, yeah. Right.
And this is where I get hung up, because I want to fix that whole statement, because your closing rate isn't that big of a deal when you're consistent, right? So it's about getting into position consistently, so that way you can close
better when you're consistent. So it's just it's a nuance in words though, because you do close better.
For sure.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to get in the lead generation business. That's a whole new world.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I really, really, really don't. I mean, we do some LinkedIn lead gen for some people who I know really well, who are not going to be, hard asses about it and stuff like this. So we write content for people so that way they can post it on LinkedIn, right? And we show them how to generate referrals and do all that stuff. And we do that for a handful of clients, and it's awesome, right? Like I enjoy it, they enjoy it. It's nice. It leads to other opportunities because we actually call them each month and interview them. So each month I'm interviewing each one of these people to figure out what kind of content we should be putting out there. And, then from there, we can also repurpose it for blogs. We can do all this other stuff with it. So, but and this might be a shiny thing, but I feel like that is such an easier conversation because you can be like, oh no, my marketing isn't very good. But I think when it comes to selling, most people hold that super close to the chest and they say, oh, I'm good over here though. Do you think there's anything to that?
I mean, you're the person that's in that every day, right? So that could be true. I wouldn't say marketing is easy to sell. It may be easier than sales to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So forgetting that whole conversation together, what's easier to sell now. So what I hear is the rabbits thing again. You have 3 goals for 3 different sections of business for the next. You can have 4. That's all I can do. So it may be completely legitimate, and actually doesn't matter. It's what's in your scope for this 12 weeks, and not in your scope. That's something additional, shiny or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. I mean,
do both. I've already got relationships with people, right? So I've got a buddy who does local SEO and kills it. It's in direct correlation to how many times you ask. Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, if you never ask, it's always going to be at 0. But man, I have these conversations all the time, right? And because I do the role play offer, right? We hop on here and we role play. People leave that call thinking like, oh my god, this is so awesome! That was fantastic. Okay, cool. Would you like to work together? No, I'm probably good, right? So.
Well, let me ask you this though: does that mean that that's the wrong target market though? Typically that's how I look at leads and marketing. It's like if I've done research and I know the types of things that people need solves to. I know the pain points. When they get there, I'm going to have something for them that's going to fix it, and boom, they connect up. It's like, this is great. Yeah. And then when you make the big ask, it's like, no, I'm good. To me, that's not the message or the target's wrong. It's one or the other. And so if the message right, then that means it's the wrong target market. So this is actually something I did with an agency that I was working with a few years back, is they were convinced they would help small local business owners, right? And then they offered up this package, right? And they would get people to the finish line and even sometimes sign them up, but there was all this churn rate because they weren't solving for the real issue with the small business, right? They were trying to do a mid-business solution for a small business that had small business problems. Right, so it's what that same mentality is my message when I get to these salespeople. Am I the wrong message and I want this target market, or if I have the right message and I just am aiming for the wrong target market?
Yeah, there is something to be said for I'm probably not fishing enough in the right ponds, right? Because I think that I think that for $500 a month, which is kind of like my main coaching offer, right? You get one-on-one time with me, and then you also get like office hours for the paid group. There's a lot of people who are like, man, I can't afford $500 for this, but they'll absolutely set $500 on fire for some terrible ads. You know what I'm saying? And it's so part of me wants to figure out like how to solve for that so that I can fix those people. But what I really should be doing is focusing on
say that for yourself again.
Yeah, getting in front of the right people who see the sales thing as a problem, right? So this is another nugget, right? Thank you, man. Thank you, but thank you, because it's super easy to tell yourself, oh, well, if I go fix this problem, then I can fix this problem, and then all of a sudden you're stretched way too thin, which I already am, for being
but entrepreneurs love solving problems so much that they do it at their own peril, right?
Yeah.
God, we love solving problems. God, I love changing people's minds. Gosh, I love showing people where they could. But guess what? That's a horrible business model.
Yeah.
how can I do both? That's my constant struggle. Is how can I put some of my day where I can go, oh God, yeah, I get to solve something that seems unsolvable, but then the rest of the day I'm making money.
Yeah. One of the guys that I talk to a lot, a big part of his sales process is what's your big unsolvable problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like he's very purposeful in trying to find that thing, you know, and he'll actually be like, hey, like it doesn't really seem like you've got a problem that lines up with anything else that I hear from people I talk to. What were you hoping to talk about today?
Wow.
Right? Because man, when you can throw your hands up and be like, hey, I'm not really sure. Right. What happens, and this is a huge selling thing, right? And I first there's this idea of transactional analysis, and there's a great book. It's called "I'm Okay, You're Okay," right? And so the way that I think about this is when we're okay, right? The prospect and the salesperson, and you're both right here, and you're okay. When the salesperson rears up and starts like applying pressure, like you want to buy now, do you want to buy now? They're here, right? And so they're more okay. But what happens is the prospect gets like this weight of this, right? And they're being pushed down to like not being okay. So they're being pushed under the threshold to where, oh, smile and nod or get out of here, right? The fight or flight shows up, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if we go the other way, right? When we're the salesperson and we say, hey, you know what? I'm not really sure. What happens is the other person willingly wants to like come in and help us back up, right? So this is a huge deal because in sales, when you can get to that point, if you're like, hey, help me out. I don't really get what we would be talking about. Like, why would you carve out time to talk to me if this wasn't really a problem? Because it doesn't really sound like it is. They're going to tell you exactly why it's a problem, right? And the cool thing about that is once they say it, you don't have to prove it because they have said it because it's already factual in their mind, right?
All the time.
Yeah, until it's factual in their mind, you have to prove it. So don't put yourselves into spots where you have to prove even more. Just hang out in the conversation long enough so that way they come to you and they say, I need these things, right? Mm-hmm. One of my very first sales coach, his name's Scott, and I see him do this all the time. He'll get up on stage and he'll speak somewhere, and then he gets off of it, and someone comes up and like, oh my God, that was awesome. I can't wait to talk to you. Like I really need this. He doesn't say, okay, cool, when do you want to come in? And he definitely doesn't say, cool, here's your invoice, right? You want to go ahead and sign up now? He says, why? Mm-hmm. Right? So right there, that very first question is curiosity driven and not let me get my needs driven. Right? Mm-hmm. So the more you can do that, right? And this is where the inner game of tennis becomes so important as a book because it's got all of the stuff in there of your tone is everything when you're trying to do this kind of sell, right? Because if you're like, really, Jake, why? Right? It comes off as like cheesy and nobody likes it. But if you're like, thanks for letting me know. Not everybody wants to work with me. What'd you like? They'll tell you exactly what they liked. And those are things you don't have to sell around later on because they're telling you how much they like them. So it's already formed in their head, right? Cognitive biases, right? Confirmation bias and stuff like this, right? Part of the reason why the internet is a terribly toxic thing because Google's going to show you exactly what you're looking for, right? So we can use that to our advantage. Okay, what about this seems to line up for you? And then they tell you, right? When they say it out loud, it becomes facts. So let them say it to you because that makes your life easier.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and that's all that actually you said Google, like that's what Siri, Alexa, Google, I think they're actually programmed to do the thing you just said. Is they want to pull information from you in a way that allows them to make offers that are not this, right?
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, there was this like idea running around that like Google was a conspiracy thing. So because if you just Googled any three numbers in new cases, there was news articles showing that exact number of new cases in various cities. But the news articles had different dates. The cities were different cities. And when you consider that we've been tracking this thing since March till now, and some cities even before that, it would make sense that over any 3-digit number, we're going to find some cities that have reported that number of cases when we've had, 120,000 deaths or something like this. So but when you go in there and you're saying, hey, is marketing BS? It's going to show you a lot of things that implicate that marketing is BS. But the thing that you're not seeing yet is they're going to try to sell you something else so that way you don't need marketing. Like
they're going to tell you, Dan what's his name? So and so. Anyway, his book called BS Marketing. So you'll get
right. Everybody is working an angle, right? And one of the easiest ways to become a brand is to be polarizing around things, but then to have slightly good facts backing it up. Hey, marketing sucks. Have better sales conversations, right? I'm going to get a lot of people who really like sales following me, but when it's hard to be in the middle, right? But like that's actually where most people are, but it's really hard to market to the middle. So, being slightly polarizing is really, really key, but I just don't really like doing it very much. But I think I'm polarizing in my own way, right? If you're just pitching as opposed to qualifying before you pitch, you're wrong, right? So I guess that is polarizing compared to like how a lot of people think about it.
Could be. It's all in the wording. Or the tone, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. But tonality is like a really, really, really big deal, right? So ask those questions so that way you gain understanding, but do it from like a non-judgmental thing. And the reason why I'm working so hard on my sarcasm is because I'm such a sarcastic, critical person always, that when I try to use okay, but tell me more about that, it sounds in my head like it should be sarcastic because I spend so much time being sarcastic. So I'm working on not being sarcastic so that way that doesn't sound sarcastic, so that way I feel more authentic and connected to the person I'm talking to in the moment. Right. So the sales levels in here, guys, like they're not always where you want to be.
Yeah, but reprogramming stuff too. That's one of the hard stuff to do because it takes time, not just
absolutely does. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, we got lots to do.
We have lots to do. Real quick. Okay, so 2 lead magnets for adaptive growth. 1 sheet for advertising for sales throwdown for like us and the packages, and then I'm going to build a course for closers with the real good information, not just my method, but tax and setups and everything else like that.
Yeah, about how to be a 1099 salesperson, not how to sell. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, a little bit of how to sell, but much more about like how to be set up for success.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
Yeah. And then, I got to get off here because I got to go do 85 asks. I'm going to cancel this meeting with Patrick. Sorry, Patrick. I got to get this done, buddy. Can't pay $500 because can't really afford it. So let me just prioritize my time and get it done today.
Love it.
So Sherpa, 85 asks. Actually, swap that order. 85 asks, then Sherpa, because that's easier to do. Yeah. And then some Hamilton.
Love it. Reward yourself.
Yeah, some margaritas and some Hamilton, baby.
Yeah, and what you should do is only watch him if you complete your 85 asks.
I mean, if you knew how hardcore my family was about Hamilton,
I know.
You know we're not
consequences on something that's already been negotiated. I was just being
exactly. Well, if it's like 4 or 5 o'clock today, like I already know what's going to happen. Like Melissa's going to come in here and be like, I don't even care about the $500, but you just and I'm like, well, I'm glad you don't care. So I will not leave this room, the office, right, the sales lab, if you will, until I get the 85 asks and the Sherpa done. So. Keep me company. Make it easy for me. If you're watching this show, would you just send me a direct message so that way I can invite you to this group? So that way you can get in here with me.
So something I do with my accountability group is we do power hours together. So I'll just say, hey, today from 3 to 4, I'm going to be working. I'm going to be working, and you can hop on the Zoom call with me, and we'll all say hi to each other, or whatever. But we're all just going to work together. So swimmingly, and they've actually been really helpful. So I'm thinking maybe you and I should have one of those. And if someone wants to hop in and work with us, it's a silence thing.
I love that. It's kind of just like
it's co-working,
virtual. Yeah. It's virtual co-working. Yeah. Look, when I was working for that startup for a little while, they would have kind of like because like the entire team was dispersed and remote.
Yeah.
They would have a living room, that was just like a video chat, and you could just get in there and you would just hear other people working, and it just kind of reminded you that you needed to work, and it was like super nice. So maybe we just have Bill Zoom work sessions.
Bill work hours, No,
like that.
Work hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, y'all think about that too. Put that
if anybody, Do we know how many people watch this? Like I have not really done
I haven't.
any.
You know what? I'll go look at that today, though.
Yeah, I'm curious because like I get the notification on Facebook whenever someone likes BIL or whatever, but with this also going to YouTube, like I don't know how many people watch this like anywhere at all, right?
Yeah.
So because I told Jake at the beginning of this thing that like I needed him to run with the ball on this because my time was severely limited, and so yeah. But I am because like I know we've got our regulars, right? Ben and Gabe and Michelle and Jake, not Jake, Ben. So
yeah, Brandon Sheets now too. He also most days. So
absolutely,
yeah. We'll have Mike. So
I think Mike Talley, that's right. And I think Brandon Sheets was the guy last Friday that was made 150 asks. Dude, 150 asks. I'm not done yet. I got to get it done today. It's going to be.
Yeah, he was like, "You're crazy."
Yeah, well, true. Yes, I am.
Not
but here's the deal. It's just a matter of prioritization, right? Like nothing is important until you make it important, right? So by default, the things that you don't find important don't get done. So prospecting is the weakest part of my sales game. I hate it. Like it's just so incredibly inefficient. So let me try to tighten my game on that by proving that it's not as bad as I think it is, right? It's not that bad, right? I mean, done 65 asks and I've only had one person like get offended.
Mm-hmm.
That's not.
You adjust and you move on, right? So
yeah,
love it. All right, well, it's 9:00. Let's go do this thing.
Let's go do it.
All right, we will see everybody on Monday. Hope you'll have a great holiday weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Enjoy some fireworks. Stay safe. Do what you got to do to be safe, but try to enjoy the weekend as well.
Absolutely.